Okay, in this video we cover one of the first inventory techniques, ABC classification. It's one of my favorite techniques because it reinforces my thoughts on my definitions of management. Management is knowing what the important things are, and that's exactly what ABC classification is about. The most important items are your A items, the least important are your C items. The A items you need to manage more closely, assign different resources because they're critical to your organization. The C items are the ones that aren't critical. You need to manage those differently. The B are something in the middle. So the question is, how do you decide what is an A item, a B item, or a C item? And what the book covers and what we'll go over is based on annual dollar usage. So this is actually a homework problem, or a problem from the back of the book, problem 42. And what we have is that we have 10 items. Obviously we would have thousands or hundreds of thousands of items in a real system. This is our usage on a monthly basis. This is what they cost us. So you can see some things we use a lot. And then some things are real cheap or real expensive. So what I want to do is calculate an annual dollar usage. Once I have my usage or my demand, and now it's monthly, so I'm going to multiply that times 12 to get to an annual number. And then also multiply that by the price. And that becomes my dollar usage. So if I get a total of that, that is the total dollar usage of every item I have. So now that I've got that, I'm going to come up with the relative frequency, or the percent of that. So I'm going to take this number and divide by this, and I'm going to copy this formula down, so I'm going to put some dollar signs around it, and I'm going to show it as a percent. So you can see that item 1 is 3% of my total, and you can see that one right there. Clearly that's an A item. Clearly, because I use it a lot and it's expensive. So that's the one I need to manage well. This one, not so much. I don't use it very much, even though it's kind of expensive. This one, not so much. I use it a lot, but it's cheap. So this is the most important one. I'm going to go ahead and sort this. Let's do that first. Actually, let's go ahead and sort this. Data, sort. I'm going to sort on the usage from high to low. And that'll bring my most important items to the top. And I'm going to go ahead and calculate my cumulative percent usage. So the cumulative, well, the first one is just this one. But the next one is equal to what I started with plus the incremental, the next one. So you can see my first two items account for 70% of my usage. And so once I get down to so this one, when I copy that formula down, I get to 100%. So now that I've got this cumulative usage, now I'm going to break these down into items. And it's still somewhat subjective, but you can see what the book says is that of all the items, and we have 10 of them, usually the top 15% or so are A items. So it's really just one or two. But I'm going to look at it in terms of cumulative usage, and I'm going to use a breakdown, and I'm going to call this an A item. That's 55% of all my value is in that one item. And then these I'm going to call B items. This gets me to anywhere from 20% of my value between 71 and 90. So that totals to 20%. And all this other stuff are going to be C items. This will be my A. These will be B's. And the rest of these will be C's. So even though my C items make up half of my total items, actually over half, 60% of my total items, they only make up roughly about 7% of their annual dollar usage. The total of that is well, it's 10%. So that's my breakdown. You may want to group maybe these two as your B items, but I think this one and this are so close. I would probably keep those together. Those might be Bs. This might maybe you make that a C. That really becomes your decision on how you want to evaluate those. That may make more sense. Okay, but that's the general way of how you do ABC classification. Thanks.